With us now for more is Julian Tarrobago, the investment mentor and former billion-dollar fund manager, the creator of JT Criterion. So good to see you, June. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me over. It's a pleasure.
It's been such a long time, hasn't it?
Too long.
Too long, but very critical time. We did hear from Dino Aquino yesterday, and he said something that was a little bit contrarian, I thought, that he said we could decouple. The Bangko Sentral could decouple from the Fed rate cutting cycle because of that huge inflation rate decline in February.
Interesting.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think it was very encouraging that even the inflation rate fell below the range. I was looking at your graphic. It was below the range of expectation of the central bank. So if it's below the range, the logic there is they could actually be, more emboldened to cut rates.
Cutting now. Don't wait for April 3rd.
Well, it was a surprise, right? So maybe.
Yeah, but then the gravity as well and the depth of the cut. I mean, people were talking about maybe 25 basis points like they did in the past three meetings before they held steady.
Right.
Is there a possibility that it might be deeper than 25 basis points?
I think 50 is more reasonable, personally speaking. The lower than expected inflation print reinforces that idea, I think. I mean, you have inflation going down. At the end of the day, it's about inflation and GDP, right? So if inflation is going down, the peso is exhibiting more stability, and then eventually it's going to flow into the economy, and I think it's a very encouraging sign that inflation was lower than expected.
Right. Yeah. So after 50 basis points, what's going to come next in the latter half of the year?
I'll stay at 50 basis points for now. I think let's see how inflation pans out. Because
what will be the factors then? I mean, what's keeping that sort of a cloudy scenario for you in the second half of the year?
Well, I just want to see rice prices, for example, continue the slide because I think in your report, I think it was housing price and other food prices were lower than expected. So that was encouraging, and for me, it's encouraging because lower rice prices and all of those other food prices means a continuation of lower inflation, which could help boost. It could provide that much-needed boost in consumption and a rebound in GDP growth. If you recall, the fourth quarter GDP number was a bit of a disappointment. GDP growth number, yes. So I think that could be a catalyst for the stock market if inflation continues to go down, and we see it in terms of a boost to GDP growth, and then you have infrastructure spending accelerating as well, and then corporate earnings continue to the corporate earnings results have so far been quite pedestrian. But if that improves, then I think you see the valuations for it will reinforce that the valuations for Philippine stocks are dirt cheap.
Yeah, there's just so many ifs there. I mean, as we're working through that whole
Let's start with inflation and the 50 basis point cut. Yeah.
Right. But I do want to get to the funds. Sure. You used to hold like billion-dollar funds worth of money, equity fund, the best performing. The last time we talked, that was the longest period since we last spoke. If you had $1 billion right now, how would you deploy, given all the ifs that you just mentioned there?
Right. If I had to deploy in Philippine equities, and I think there's a lot of value. If it's quality, I would put it in consumer. There's a lot of consumer.
Staples or discretionary?
Both. You have Jollibee, for example. CNPF, there's URC is super cheap. Of course, it's not for everyone at this point. Other value plays, JG Summit, its stake in JG Summit's stake in Meralco. Its market capitalization of $1.9 billion, I think, is lower than its actual stake in Meralco, which is about $2.5 billion. So it means PLDT stake, Robinson's Land, Cebu Air, or Cebu Pacific, they're all for free.
Okay.
So I mean that's the value that you're getting now, in terms of blue chips that are Ayala Land in property. I said consumer and property is cheap at 23 pesos per share. SM Prime is cheap, so it's actually a great opportunity to buy quality at, I would say, dirt cheap prices. So if you just can extend your investment horizon, I mean, if I don't think this is going to be I think if anyone who invests in the market now on a disciplined basis, I'm not saying put everything there.
Right.
You'll be smiling after 5 years, 3
Okay,
to 5
but
years.
we
yeah.
have to get into your investment course next
Sure.
month, and
Yeah.
I need to have you back then and
Absolutely.
sort out how those ifs change in
Yes.
30 days. But good luck. Thank you so much,
Thank you so
June
much, Kathy. Yeah.
Tarrobago joining us here from JT Criterion.